Thank you for joining us for All Things Real Estate. Now here are your hosts, Brad Avergon and Gary Kelly.
Welcome to All Things Real Estate on WCRM, WMCT, Westboro Television, and everywhere on the internet. I'm Gary Kelly with Lamacchia Realty, and I'm joined as always by
Brad Avergon with Fairway Independent Mortgage. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, Brad. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm doing
Now that
well.
we're finished lying to each other because we've been having problems getting our screens working and everything set up and everything the way it should be. Brad, I think that one of the things that you actually suggested, I'll give you credit temporarily for this, that you suggested that we need to do some more, my words, tough love with our clients, that they have unrealistic expectations in the current market, and that we need to have a conversation around that. And at first I was like, oh, we're going to be, tough love with our clients. But I think the more I thought about it, the more I think, there's a certain amount of wisdom that comes from that. And I hate to say that you had the wisdom, but I will.
Once a year I get a thought, Gary. Once a year I get a good thought.
But one of the things that we're talking about is the ability of people to buy a house with rising interest rates, and also buy a house with the inventory that's been kind of holding steady, or in some areas decreasing. And I know from the standpoint of the pablum that I'm often fed, or that I pick up on the internet or whatever, there was a thought that said that interest rates would peak and then start to edge their way down. So Brad, it's, as we record this, it's July 7th. No one likes it when we put the date on there, but just to be clear, what did interest rates do last night?
Popped, Gary. They popped, and they went higher. We're probably a quarter to 3/8 higher than we were yesterday, and it's just it's not easy. It is not easy, and it is not pretty.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Before you go on.
Okay.
So we're at 7 something.
Yes. 7 something. I would say 7 1/4, roughly, maybe 7 3/8 on a 30-year fix with no points on a conventional 30-year fixed mortgage, good credit, things like that, good down payment.
So Brad, why are the soothsayers? Do you remember Johnny Carson?
What was that name? What was the character's name?
Karnak the Magnificent.
Karnak the Magnificent, yes.
Why are the interest rates continuing to go up? And I realize that may be an unfair question for you because you don't set the interest rates, but let's talk about it.
So you're right, but you're right. It is an unfair question, but I'm going to do my best to answer it. So for the last year, since the beginning of this year, I should say, when I say we, people in my industry and the economists that understand what sets interest rates, and what pushes them in a certain direction, have been predicting. So it's not just coming from mortgage guys. This is coming from economists. Even the stock market, was anticipating it, predicting that interest rates would drop, that we had curbed inflation to the point that with all the rate rises that the Fed had put into place last year, that would take effect, inflation would subside, and the Fed would back off, and the market would settle into more of a normal pace. They and we were wrong, flat out wrong. That has not happened. This economy has been.
So let me make note. It's July 7th, 2023, and Brad Avergon has admitted that he was wrong.
Yes, I was wrong along with the rest of my industry for the most part. including people way smarter than I am, economists, who I study and watch regularly, okay, to see what's going on. We had thought that things were going to start to drop. The first date we had was, I think, around May 10th. We thought we might see a little bit of a ripple, but by summertime, we thought they were going to settle back into probably, maybe low sixes, maybe high fives, but we thought we were going to see some normality. The reason that has not happened is this economy is on the tear. And for those folks that are listening or watching our show and who have seen in the last 30 days, their 401ks and their stocks rise to all-time heights, that's an indication of what's been going on, okay? If anybody happened to be listening to or seeing the jobs report yesterday, they came out almost new opportunities for jobs, people seeking new jobs. Came out almost double what they predicted, double. Now, the Fed looks at that as an indication as to the health and speed of the economy. They were hoping that those jobs numbers might come down. Well, they did the reverse. And so what the Fed does is, while they paused at the last hike, they will not pause again with this month's hike. They paused in June. They said, we'll take a look and we'll give it a second to see how things settle in. They will not pause in July. My guess is they will hike in July by about a quarter, at least. They may pause in August, but they will hike again in September. If they don't see any slowdown, they may hike again in August. So they're absolutely committed to bringing down inflation to around 2%. We're nowhere near that right now. So
let me ask you. I heard everything you said, and I respect it. And yet, if I go out and I talk to people in the building trades, got a guy that I know, and I happen to know that he took a job with a window installation company doing repairs on their installs. And he called me up about 2 weeks ago and said, Gary, do you have anything you can give to me? Because I'm sucking wind right now. And yeah, I got stuff we can give him. I mean, he's a good guy. We're happy to help when we can. Another contractor that I know that goes to one of my watering holes said, I haven't done anything new in 5 months. And he primarily does bathroom and kitchen remodels in the Wellesley area. So help me understand why we're in a superheated economy, but certain areas seem to be sucking wind. Because I know from a real estate perspective, we're not sucking wind, but it's certainly not robust by any stretch. I had a meeting yesterday with a mortgage loan officer who specializes primarily in the Haitian community, and her challenge, and it starts to get into the second half of the show, but her challenge is she can get people pre-approved, but then they have nothing to buy. And so they're stuck in their current living situation. So make that all make sense to me, Brad. And by the way, you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, 2 minutes to go. Okay. So with regard to the practitioners, the contractors, that may be just a temporary lag from a marketing standpoint. That is not what I'm hearing from other practitioners that do that, other contractors. Building contracts that I know are booked out right now. They're booking into the fall, they're booking into the winter, but they're pretty busy. Now, those are for bigger projects. The mom and pops, people redoing their bathroom, as you said, it may be a bit of a cash crunch. You have to remember that while mortgage rates go up, which you and I see on a regular daily basis, when the Fed hikes interest rates, people's credit card debt goes up. The cost of borrowing to do a project like a bathroom, like a kitchen, increases. And and I will tell you that based on everything I'm seeing, people are already putting more on their credit cards than they were 6 months or a year ago. They're already shifting more to that. And so while they're putting more of a higher balance on that and the cost of that balance is going up, that may have them putting off some projects. I have not seen that specifically, with regard to work involved with contractors, but because they're still working. But I think that I can see where for the average homeowner, it's getting more expensive to do those projects, way more expensive than it was 6 months or a year ago.
Yeah, I think that it becomes a challenge when people start see that I look at it and say it feels, again, that's not anything more than what I would consider to be a fairly small community of people that I hang around with, where people are tightening their belts. They're not going out to dinner as much. They're not doing that bathroom remodel, or they're trying to do it themselves, which ends up being a disaster in many cases. Those are the things where I say it can't all be good if that kind of activity is going on. But Brad, if someone wanted to reach you and talk more, how would they reach you?
Best way to reach me, Gary, is via my cell, which is 978-375-5531, or via my email, which is brad@bradavergon.com. And Gary, how do they reach you?
I can be reached at Gary@movewithgary.com or 508-733-6005. So, Brad, when we get started again, I want to talk a little bit about how people can address where they are with interest rates. But I do want to move into the inventory question as well, and talk about specifically how they can address some of this, because I don't want to just be doom and gloom. I want to offer some suggestions to our viewers and listeners.
Absolutely. All right. See you on the flip side.
We'll take a break.
Stay tuned. More All Things Real Estate coming right up.